Was Ashoka really great? Let's explore and find out. So, was Ashoka really great? Let's discuss and find out. Now, most of the historians concur on the phase of life of Ashoka before the Kalinga War. To get to the throne, Ashoka killed all his half brothers, including Sushima, who was bestowed the throne by Bindusara himself. He ruthlessly killed all of them to get to the power. Now, also, the Mauryan Empire under Chandragupta Maurya and Bindusara extended from Takshila to Bengal in the east and to Karnataka in the south. So, in a sense, really, under Ashoka, the empire never really extended its sphere of influence beyond the existing boundaries. Due to the ruthlessness, high-handedness, and the gruesome power display shown by Ashoka, he was monikered as Chanda Ashoka, or meaning a very ruthless and cruel king. Now, Bindusara and before him Chandragupta were Jains, and in those times, their loyalists in the court of their kingdom were also Jains and a sect called Ajivikas, which were different but closely resembled Jains, different in the sense in terms of philosophical moorings. And of course, there was a smattering of Buddhist and Vedic followers as well. Now, once Ashoka gained the throne, he wanted, like any other king or politician, to fill the court with his followers. So, what he did was he patronized Buddhists and Buddhism, filled his court with those people, and reduced the influence of the existing courtiers or coming from different school of thought. But what's more gruesome is that later on he carried out a massacre of those loyalists. Now, this is where things started to diverge. So before Kalinga War, the ruthlessness of Ashoka is pretty much established. It's after Kalinga War that many historians believe that Ashoka had a change of heart, seeing the gruesomeness, the killing, the gory blood in the war. He had a change of heart, he felt remorseful, chose the path of non-violence, and took to Buddhism. Well, the last point is definitely wrong. He took to Buddhism before that. He patronized Buddhism for his own personal advancement, to reduce the influence of existing religions or school of thoughts and increase his own power. He patronized and followed the path of Buddhism. Now, of the Kalinga War, let's first think about it. A ruthless king with expansionist desires. The kingdom of Kalinga sitting right beside Patliputra. The kingdom of Kalinga is essentially the state of Odisha today, which sits right beside Patliputra. How come such an important kingdom sitting right beside, under the nose of Ashoka, be independent, or more appropriately, starts to revolt? There are only two possible reasons for this. Reason number one, like most of the people of his kingdom, the people of Kalinga and the ruler or the governor of Kalinga felt a revulsion towards the actions of Ashoka and revolted. Or reason number two, which is that he could see the foundations of Mauryan Empire weakening under Ashoka and his inefficiencies, and thought it is a good time to declare his independence and rule Kalinga on his own. It could be either of those or a combination of both. Now, the historians bestowed the tag of great and called Ashoka and called upon the change of heart of Ashoka based on the edicts that Ashoka put out in various parts of the country, in west to east and to the south. Now, common sense would dictate that if I feel remorse, if I had done some wrong to someone and I feel remorse towards it, I would first express that remorse to that person. In Odisha, or the erstwhile region of Kalinga, there are two sites, major sites, where the edicts have been found. They are Dholi and Jogada. In none of the edicts has a remorse been expressed. Certainly, a lot of sermons are given, but none of the edicts remorse is expressed. Remorse is expressed in far off lands. In far off lands. And when you do that, it looks more like a PR exercise. So what really would have happened, in my opinion, is that since Ashoka was already known as or bestowed as Chanda Ashoka, a very cruel, ruthless king, people already repulsive towards him, his act, his ruthlessness against Kalinga, where 100,000 men lost their lives, many more were injured, 150,000 men and people were captured. Such ruthlessness created a wave of revulsion towards Ashoka. To calm things down, he went on this PR exercise of remorse, of a changed man following the path of non-violence to mend his ways across the country, to change his image, like many politicians and kings have done historically. And this feels a more appropriate version of things. Now let's look at one of the edicts that Ashoka himself put out. Of emperors and atavikas. Atavikas are essentially forest tribal people. The beloved gods believes that one who does no wrong should be forgiven as far as it is possible to forgive him. And the beloved of the gods conciliates the forest tribes, or in other words, atavikas, of his empire. But he wants, and this is important, but he wants them that he has power even in his remorse, and he asks them to repent, lest they be killed, underlined. Now, these words certainly don't sound like words of a remorseful man. Threatening the forest people of death, of killing, even as he says he's remorseful, threatening them of dire consequences if they don't toe the line, are not the words of really a remorseful man. Now, also, we read that after the life of Ashoka, the Mauryan Empire collapsed. Now, common sense would say that empires don't collapse like that, unless there is a serious natural disaster or an unforeseen foreign invasion. None of those are recorded in the history. Empires collapse because the foundation starts to weaken, and ultimately this is what leads to the collapse of the empire. Let's take the example of Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb controlled the largest geographical extent of the Mughal Empire, but because of his high-handedness and bigotry, it created revolts in pockets around the country, like the Marathas in the Deccan, the Sikhs in the Punjab region, and the Ahoms under the leadership of Lachit Borphukan in Assam and Northeast. These revolts essentially weakened the foundation of Mughal Empire under Aurangzeb himself, and these things take some time to channelize and filter through the huge systems. And after the lifetime of Aurangzeb, we saw the Mughal Empire collapsing. Something similar happened with the Mauryan Empire. The high-handedness and bigotry of Ashoka and his implicit leftist socialist economics that is pretty evident in the very edicts he has put, led to the weakening of the Mughal Empire and finally its collapse. So, in the end, was Ashoka really great? Based upon the circumstantial evidence that we have seen, I don't think so. What I definitely can say for sure is the tag of great that is bestowed upon him is completely invalid. The circumstantial evidence that we have seen points to a king who was power hungry, who was ruthless, a bigot, and went on a PR drive for his actions that face widespread revulsion amongst his own people. However, what's more concerning are some of the texts that we have come across, that I have come across, like the Ashok Vandana, which indicates a genocide against the monks who followed the Ajivika school of thought. This genocide led to a crippling blow to the Ajivika's religion, and we don't find any Ajivikas in the country today. Now, this text has to be analyzed more closely, has to be the authenticities of such texts in the right period has to be established, but they definitely indicate upon more serious study on this king. So in the end, let's say that while certainly Ashoka is not great for sure, but if we draw a line and separate people between good and evil, to put him on the other side of the line, we need some more investigations. Thank you very much.